Hi, all you music lovers out there. My name's Andy Rodriguez, also known as the Black Spinner. Today, let me tell you a little about the show if you are new to it. This is episode number 6, and the concept of this is I'm going through my record collection, and I am going through it alphabetically and in chronological order. And each episode will have a different letter. We're going alphabetical order. So today we are doing C, part 2 of the letter C, and it's going to consist of a couple of blocks because I've got several bands that have several albums here. We're going to go through Alice Cooper, Elvis Costello and the Attractions, and Creedence Clearwater Revival, and a couple of others, but those are the 3 bands that are going to take up most of this episode. So without further ado, let's get started. Alice Cooper, first one I have by him is Killer. This is a pretty good album. I really like this. This was his 4th release, and the songs on here are just killer, like the name of the album. And they are Under My Wheels. Under My Wheels. That's a really good song. And Being My Lover is a really good tale about meeting a woman in a bar and explain to her of who he is and who she is. It's a really neat, funny first introduction to someone you just meet. And Halo of Flies is a really big epic. And when you don't think this can get any better, side 2 is just great. Let me just pull this out. It'll be easier for me to read. Side 2, You Drive Me Nervous, is a really good, kind of like almost a pop new wave send-up, pretty much. But Dead Babies is a really good song. Dead Babies and Killer. That's about 6 songs that are on this one album alone. That is fantastic. There's the Warner Brothers label right there for you guys. And the next one that I have by Alice Cooper is going to be $1 Million Babies. There's the inside of it. It's pretty neat. And I think this comes out. No, it does not. And this was the last album that he'll make with his band, I believe. The Alice Cooper band. And the songs on here are going to be just a fantastic read through here. Let's go through the big songs, which Hello, Hooray, Elected, Raped and Freezing are really good. And then there was another song here that I couldn't read because of the lighting in here. But this also has No More Mr. Nice Guy on it. Generation Landslide. God, I'm almost reading all of these. Sick Things. I know there's another song on the first side that really sticks out. Oh yeah, $1 Billion Babies. So the title track. I know I was forgetting one of them. Oh, what's that last one? Oh well. But if you see this or stream it, it's a pretty good pickup. And there's nothing on the inside. The next one I have by Alice Cooper is Alice Cooper Goes to Hell. Now, this looks kind of sinister, the way that the album looks, but it really isn't, which is kind of it's kind of a disappointment. This album here. The first song is pretty good. Go to Hell. It's he's kind of singing about himself and how he has done so many bad things that people think that he's doing, according to the media, because he was a big thing, and he was like everyone, like all the goody two shoes were against him, I guess. But that's about it on this album. It's a very weird album. He tries to, he's already let go of the Alice Cooper band, and the rest of it is a lot of different kind of types of music. A lot of them is not even rock related. And the next one that I have by him is called Lace and Whiskey. I haven't heard this one in a long time. I need to give it another listen to, but the big song, the songs that stick out on this album, My God, Lace and Whiskey. But there's something odd about this album too. It tells the story of a detective. He's really starting to branch out in his writing and in the music, and is kind of changing his styles and trying to find the right style throughout the album, and it kind of throws me off a little bit. The next one we have is Alice Cooper, The Inside Out. There's the album cover. It's pretty neat because it opens and you see it's like a mental institute there. And then the back of it, I think he's leaving the institute. There's the doors. And then, yeah, this opens. I thought the whole thing opened, but it's these little doors that open saying he was released, which is really cool. I wish the album was just as cool, but you know what? This album, it's not that rocking, but if this makes sense, if it was put into some kind of musical or if it was a play, it would be really good. But when you throw it on, you hear things that you don't expect to hear. There are a couple of female vocals, and just like watching a play, the music, it just feels like there's like an orchestra pit down there, and people are just playing whatever. It's kind of weird. And this was the difficult period to get through with him. I do need to get earlier Alice Cooper stuff. I understand that, and but you know, this is what I have by Alice Cooper, and I'm not gonna skip it. Flush the Fashion by Alice Cooper. I like this album. This was early 80s, maybe 80, 81. It's got a new wave feel to it, and I really enjoyed it. It's a different listen to. There's the back of it. There's Cooper in his another character. Talk and Clones Were All. And Clones Were All was a single that was released off this album. Those are really two good songs. Dance Yourself to Death and Headlines and Nuclear Infected and Grim Facts. This was really good. It's not, you know, when you throw it on, it's not going to be the Alice Cooper that you're expecting to listen to. But this was a good record. Better than the last ones I was talking about. This one here, this next album, I was at a Goodwill. I was looking through the albums, and I saw this without an album cover. It was just the sleeve here. And I got curious. I said, well, I wonder what's in there. I'm glad I did. This is the debut album by Elvis Costello, called My Aim Is True. And, hey, if anyone has a album cover for this, please let me know. But but the songs on here are fantastic. I love this album from beginning to end. The ones that stand out to me is Allison. Allison's just a great song. Watching the Detectives is also on here. And a couple of others that I can't read that well. But yeah, this is good. If you're an Elvis Costello fan, go ahead and pick this one up. It's his debut album. And number 2, his second release was called This Year's Model. Elvis Costello here. This was his first album with his band called The Attractions. And I wish they would have had. And there's the album by Columbia. And I really can't read these that well. On the Columbia label. The next we have for Elvis Costello is Armed Forces. Elvis Costello and the Attractions. That's the back of it. But this is the original album. And then this one that I have has this album cover. I don't know if it was some kind of promotional thing, but I was excited to get this one. This says Accidents Will Happen, which was a very big hit for him. Senior Service, Oliver's Army, Green Shirt, Party Girl, and that's just side one. So this is a good album. This was his third one. Lagoon Squad, this is side two. And Good Moods for Moderns. And what's so funny about Peace, Love, and Understanding is the way that this album ends. Elvis Costello. And this was the first Elvis Costello I ever bought. It's Get Happy. This is a very... that's what I wanted to say about Elvis Costello. He wasn't exactly punk and he wasn't exactly rock, but it seemed to be, to me, what we have now. It's like he was like the founder, I guess, of alternative pop rock, is the way that I like to explain to people about Elvis Costello. It's alternative pop rock. And standout tracks on this one is I Can't Stand Up for Falling Down. And also, where's the other one? Oh, Opportunity is pretty good. The Imposter. Well, not Opportunity is pretty good. It's fantastic. It's my favorite song on the album. It was Opportunity. And I Stand Accused and Riot Act. The thing with this album, it has 20 songs on it. And it stands at almost 50 minutes of the same 2.5 minute long songs. But it's a really good listen. Next by Elvis Costello, I've got Trust. Trust is an album that is pretty fantastic. It's got really good pop rock on it. Clubland was a big hit or a good song. Watch Your Step. You'll Never Be a Man. New Lace Sleeves and White Knuckles. So it's produced by Nick Lowe, which they did a lot of things together. Nick Lowe and Elvis Costello. And the next one I have is Goodbye Cruel World by Elvis Costello. I know, I guess I'm a bigger Elvis Costello fan than I thought. Let me see here. In Town, Room with No Number, and Love Field, I Want to Be Loved, and Sour Milk Cow Blues. And then does it have it's got a little sleeve in it with the lyrics on it. This one was released in like the mid 80s, maybe 83, 84. It's a pretty good album. I enjoy it. You know, when it comes to Elvis Costello, you got to be kind of careful because he changed so much genres, so much. So he's interesting. In my taste, I like more of his rock stuff. And speaking of rock stuff, this band here is the backing band for one of my favorite singers and guitar players. His name is Neil Young. Is one of my favorites. But this is a band that he collaborates with about for half his career and half of his album output. We'll get to Neil Young later on when we get to the whys, and believe me, you'll probably have an episode or two dedicated to him. But for now, the debut album by Crazy Horse. They did this one after Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere with Neil Young and Crazy Horse, and Neil Young was in between after the Gold Rush and Harvest. This was released by Crazy Horse. There's a couple of songs on here that were written by Neil Young that Neil Young would later on put on his own album. But let me read you side one. Side one is fantastic. And if you're expecting the garage rock that you usually hear from Neil Young and Crazy Horse, and not just garage rock, but just a dirty rock rhythm, this does not have it. This is a very melancholy, very smooth album by Crazy Horse. And when I put it on, it took me a while to get used to it because I was kind of pushed back because I was expecting, to hear Crazy Horse. But nevertheless, side one is fantastic. Gone Dead Train, Dance, Dance, Dance. Look at All the Things, Beggar's Day. And their original, I didn't know they originally did the song, but I don't want to talk about it. Rod Stewart does a cover of this, and he had a big hit with it. And I'm pretty sure y'all have heard it. I don't wanna talk about it, how you broke my heart. I never thought that was a Crazy Horse original, but it was written by Danny Whitten. And on side 2, it starts off great with Downtown. And I'll Get By and Crow Jing Lady. So this has like 6 or 7 songs on one album. This is a very good album. It's going to be hard to find, but you can stream it on Apple because I streamed it this morning so I could get acquainted with it because I haven't heard it in a while. So a lot of this stuff I had to get reacquainted with so I could talk to y'all and give y'all, some in and outs. And now we reach one of the greatest American bands of all time, even though they were only together for a short period of 4 years, but they turned the music world upside down between 1968 and 1972. Creedence Clearwater Revival. This is their debut album. This is great. I mean, I love CCR. Side 1, I Put a Spell on You, and Susie Q and The Working Man. Just those 3 songs, because I Put a Spell on You and Susie Q take up almost 13 minutes of side 1. Mainly Susie Q with a long workout here. And side 2 has Portersville and Gloomy and Walk on the Water. One thing about CCR is that they did share covers with their originals. They have more originals, but you will find about 2 or 3 covers that they do. And their second album was Bayou Country. There's the album cover there. And this album is really good from top to bottom. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can say that about almost every CCR album. Side 1, Born on the Bayou, Bootleg, and Graveyard Train. And side 2 has Good Golly Miss Molly. A shout out to Little Richard. He passed away over the weekend. Let's always remember Little Richard as being a trailblazer when it came to rock and roll and R&B, and whatever he wanted to release, it seemed to start a new genre. He was fantastic. Too bad that his career was cut a little short, or he didn't have enough output there later on in his career. But back to CCR. Proud Mary and Keep on Chuglin is on here. Proud Mary, which was a very big hit for them, and also a big hit for Ike and Tina Turner. And this used to be my favorite CCR album because this was my first CCR album, and I played this one like crazy. Green River. This was great. It still is great. It has my favorite song by them, Lodi. A lot of people call it Lodi or Lodi. We all know Lodi. And that's on side 2. But let me read these to y'all. On this album alone, this has Green River, Commotion, Wrote a Song for Everyone. That's a great ballad. Wrote a Song for Peace. Tombstone Shadow. Bad Moon Rising, Cross the Water, and The Nighttime is the Right Time, which was sung by Ray Charles, and they do a pretty good cover of it, but not as good as Ray Charles, but they do a great job. Next one I have by CCR is Willie and the Po' Boys. This is when they're really getting into a rhythm. They're really starting to get a really niche for things, and they're just popping things out every few months, just popping things out. This one has Down on the Corner. It came out of the sky. That's a really good song by them. That's a deep track. Unfortunate Son, The Midnight Special, If You're Ever Down in Houston, and Effigy. The Midnight Special is my wife Molly's favorite song by CCR, or one of her favorites, but she really likes the Midnight Special. Next one I have here is Cosmo's Factory. And this is... I said Green River was my favorite, but this is also one of my favorite. Ramble Tamble, Before You Accuse Me, Traveling Band, Ooby Dooby, Looking Out My Back Door, Run Through the Jungle, Up Around the Bend, Who'll Stop the Rain, and a killer version of I Heard It Through the Grapevine. You know, I don't want to say I like it better than Marvin Gaye's version, but they're both good versions, and I don't pick one over the other because they're different types of music. One is a Motown classic, and this is just 11 minutes of just pure great solo rock by CCR and John Fogerty just going at it. He's great. And another one I have by them is Pendulum. Pendulum is a album that after Cosmo's Factory, people were complaining, or critics were complaining, oh, well, you know, they're a formula. Yes, people talked like that back then too. You know, they're a one-trick pony. So they decided to add some horns and some keyboards to this one. And when they did that, they took away the guitar. I mean, they were having more horn solos or keyboard solos and taking away the guitar solos when this could have been a better album. But still, it's really good. But then I think to myself, what could have been if they would have had more guitar on it? Even though they do have their guitar solos, but they replaced, on a couple of songs, they replaced it with the aforementioned instruments. The songs on here, these are not in order written back here, but somebody put them. Pagan Baby is really good. Chameleon. Chameleon is one that could have been a lot better, but they put the horns in it. Have You Ever Seen the Rain, which is one of my favorite CCR songs. Have You Ever Seen the Rain is on Pendulum. Hey Tonight is a really good song too. I like Hey Tonight. Another good rocker, you can feel a CCR in there. And Wish I Could Hide Away is another good, it's almost kind of like a ballad in a CCR way, because they really didn't get into ballads. You will want to say it was a melancholy rhythm to that one. And Rude Awakening number 2 was but it is a instrumental. And there was another instrumental here as well. But I'm talking, Born to Move was instrumental. And Molina was another good song on here. The music is a little different than what we're used to. But Pendulum, I know that it's not one of the big albums that I had mentioned before, but it is good and it is fantastic. And give it a spin, or if you can find it somewhere, or stream it. I mean, now we can stream anything. They came out with this double album here, which is a greatest hits album. And there's the inside for the guys, and also right here on this side here is a timeline. It says right here in 1968, June of 68, they released their first album, Creedence Clearwater Revival. In July of 1972, the band disbanded. They broke up. But this has all the big hits that I've already read off the other albums. And there is a volume 2 that is just as good. I've got that on CD. It's somewhere in the car or in the closet somewhere. I don't have it on album, but I will look for it. But yeah, this Chronicle is what this is called. And this one here, my neighbor back home when I was a kid, Randy and Gay, lived next door to my mom and I. And they were big CCR fans. And I remember seeing this cassette in their house. We would take care of of their dog while they were on vacation. I would look through his CDs. But in concert, CCR. This has all the songs in concert, and you know, a lot of bands that you hear in concert, you know, you're like, it sounds just like the album tracks. But this one, they do stretch out a little bit more. There is a little bit more instrumentation, and John Fogerty does sing with a little bit more conviction when he's live. My wife and I have had the pleasure of seeing John Fogerty 2 times, which was great because he wasn't touring for a while there. You know, with all the lawsuits and stuff going around, and so it was great to see him, and enjoyed some CCR those 2 times we saw him. And then I'll get to his solo stuff when we get to the F's, as in Fogerty. And the next one we have here is a singer-songwriter who passed away way too soon. I'm talking about Jim Croce. I'm not too sure if this is his debut album, but this album sounds like a greatest hits, even though it's not, but it's got big songs by him. If you're not too familiar with Jim Croce, he is a singer-songwriter in the vein of 1970s, you know, acoustic. Most of his songs are with an acoustic band. There's not that much electric to it, but the way that he delivers them with honesty, and he delivers them with so much passion and so much love, and that's what made him great. The songs on here: "Don't Mess Around with Jim," "New York's Not My Home." I love that song. "New York's Not My Home." "Photographs and Memories." "Operator," "That's Not the Way It Feels." That's one of my favorite songs by him. "Operator, would you help me make this call?" And "Time in a Bottle" was one of his first hits, I believe. "Time in a Bottle." And there's the inside, there's the lyrics, there's a picture of him and his wife. And I believe his son is now making music. Another one by Jim Croce, "Life and Times." And the songs on here: "One Less Set of Footsteps on the Floor in the Morning." That's a really good song. "Roller Derby Queen." "Alabama Rain." "Bad, Bad Leroy Brown, the Baddest Man, the Whole Damn Town." "Even Meaner Than the Junkyard Dog." Yeah, those 4 songs are instant classics for Jim Croce. And next one here is "I've Got a Name." This might be right before he passed away, but this says "The Hard Way Every Time." "I'll Say I Have to Love You" in a song. "I'm Sorry I Had to Wake You." And "I Got a Name." This is a really good song. "I've Got a Name." Next we have for him is a compilation. This was the first compilation that I bought for him, "Photographs and Memories," and I enjoyed it so much I had to go, you know, whenever I saw something I picked it up. This has all the big hits that I've already read. "Working Us Car Wash Blues," I didn't mention that one. And "Don't Mess Around with Jim." "Lover's Cross," it's kind of a too much orchestra for me on that one. The same thing with "These Dreams" were just okay. But "Rapid Roy," "The Stock Car Boy." Yeah. So that's my wrap up on Jim Croce. If you're not too familiar with him, look him up. He's pretty interesting to listen to. You can listen to him on a Sunday morning, sounds great, or on a rainy day, but not during a party. And the next one I have here is Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, "Deja Vu." This was the debut album when they got Young into the fold. There's the inside of it. These were already, all 4 of them were already superstars. The songs on here are going to be "Woodstock," "I Almost Cut My Hair," "Teach Your Children," "Carry On, Carry On, Love Is Coming to Us All." And I've already mentioned "Deja Vu." "Our House" by Graham Nash. I love that song. The way that Graham Nash sings that song. And also the great part about Crosby, Stills, Nash, and then Young are their harmonies. Their harmonies are just top notch. Harmonies that you won't hear from anybody else. And also Neil Young's Helpless is on here, which is a beautiful song. And next, they came out after that. They did a double live album called 4-Way Street. There's the inside of it. I guess they didn't ask Neil to be in it. And the songs on here are so good. Yeah. I know that it starts with... Ooh, is there a book in here? No, there is not. But there is a... Oh, they got lyrics in here. I didn't know that. And the songs on here are On the Way Home by Neil Young. If you were listening to my Bees Part 2 about Buffalo Springfield, when they had Richie Furry singing On the Way Home, there's a version on here that Neil Young sings his own song, and it's completely different from by Buffalo Springfield. It's a really good song. The way that he sings it is beautifully written, and it's played beautiful. And again, having Crosby, Stills, and Nash's backing vocals make it so great. Cowgirl in the Sand, another Neil Young song. I believe this one's done acoustically than the one that we're used to hearing with Crazy Horse. Teach Your Children is on here. Ohio. This is the rockin' version of Ohio that we're used to listening to. Don't Let It Bring You Down. Try It, Carry On. And there's a run through of Southern Man on here that Stephen Stills and Neil Young are trading solos. It goes on for a while. But it's a really good one. And Chicago is on here. The song Chicago. Not the band. The song Chicago. And Love the One You're With, which was a song by Stephen Stills. And it's on here. Right Between the Eyes, Long Time Gone. The only thing missing on here that I wish was on here... It sounds like I was all over the place on this one, and I kind of was. They don't have Judy Blue Eyes, the sweet of that. I wish that they did, because that's one of my favorite songs by them. But I hope y'all were able to follow the songs that I was naming from them. And another, this is a compilation of Crosby, Stills, and Nash so far, and this has the songs that I just mentioned, and this does have the sweet Judy Blue Eyes and Genevieve. Interesting. I need to get the solo album. Not the solo, but the debut album. And the last but not least, Christopher Cross. This is a really good pop album in the early 80s vein of it. Guitars and the backing vocal and the vocals and the backing vocals by Michael McDonald are so good. And the songs on here, in fact, this one, Christopher Cross, lots and lots of Grammys. I don't know for which categories, but I think he swept them that year. This has Say You'll Be Mine, Never Be the Same. I like that song by them. And Sailing was a good song too. And Say You'll Be Mine. You know what way to make this a perfect compilation? Or, well, not a compilation, because it's not. The perfect album, if they would have added Arthur's theme song on here. Well, thanks for joining me. That concludes episode 6 for the letter C, part 2. And there is someone or another band or another artist that I did not include in the letter C, because he is going to have his own episode. It's going to be called The Cream of Eric Clapton. There's a compilation called that but I'm going to go through all the albums that I have by Eric Clapton, with him solo and his different bands that he was in. So I hope that you join me for episode 7, The Cream of Eric Clapton. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.